Hello everyone and welcome to CWLbuilds. I'm Caleb and today we're going to be making Nightwing's Escrima sticks.
Okay, so here's what you'll need to get started. These are two 2-foot sections of 3/4 inch PVC. This is a 3/4 inch polycarbonate tubing. These are 3/4 inch couplings. These are two 3/4 inch end caps. These are 3/4 inch female adapters and 3/4 inch male adapters. You'll also need these number 15 O-rings. And finally, this is a 5mm acrylic rod. So the first thing we need to do is we need to get rid of all this raised molding that they put in that includes all the lettering that's on the edges of these couplings. I cut the polycarbonate tube into four 4.5 inch sections, 2 sections per side, so we need 4 total. So as you can see here, the polycarbonate tube actually doesn't fit into the couplings all the way, and this is because the polycarbonate tube and the PVC pipe are slightly different. Even though they're both 3/4 inch, the outside diameter is just slightly smaller on the polycarbonate. And I'll show you how I fix this problem a little later on in the video. But first I'll be using this Liquitex acrylic ink, which is a semi-transparent ink, and I'll be painting the inside of the polycarbonate tube. Now I'm painting the inside because then it makes it so that it doesn't scratch as easily. Now this is only my second or third time using an airbrush for a project, so I'm just kind of experimenting here. I didn't know if this would work, but I think it turned out pretty cool in the end. And because the ink is transparent, light still passes through the side of the tube, which is what I wanted. So now I'm solving the problem of the polycarbonate tubing not fitting into the couplings. And I'm doing this by just covering the ends of the tube with tape. It's very simple. This is just masking tape. And I covered up a few good layers, and then I cut off the excess with an X-Acto knife and do some test fits. And if it's still too loose or too tight, you can just adjust accordingly by taking or adding tape. I'm going to be using super glue to attach the polycarbonate to the PVC because I didn't know how PVC cement would react with the tape or the polycarbonate. I will though be using PVC primer and cement to attach the PVC to PVC joints. In my mind, these little acrylic rods that I made would be like the electrodes on a taser. So I made this out of that 5mm acrylic rod that I showed you earlier, and I just cut them into 4-inch sections and then made these little scoops out of each end and then curved the corners. And those little scoops make it so that it sits flat and flush against the PVC couplings. I ended up adding this third coupling here because the end was looking a little boring and I wanted to add a little more weight to the end. I did this by measuring 1.25 inches away from the bottom of the last coupling, cutting it with a PVC cutter, then adding 2 number 15 O-rings, putting the new coupling on, and then adding the handle. Now it's finally time for painting. So using masking tape, I mask off the polycarbonate, and I will paint the rest using a flat gray primer and then a semi-gloss black spray paint. Remember to cover up the threads so they don't get gunked up with paint. So I find the center of the end cap, and then I drill a hole in it, and this hole will be used to help hang up the sticks while they dry. Afterwards, this hole will be filled up with a bolt that I found. After my electrodes get a coat of black spray paint, I do a light dusting of that acrylic ink just to give it a blue tone. Then I'm ready to undo all the masking and see all my work. And a coat of matte clear spray paint seals up our paint job. So I need to space the electrodes out in perfect thirds around the stick itself. And so what I've done is I've made this little template here, which is the exact circumference of the outside of the coupling, and it's perfectly spaced into 3 sections. So I line it up and I make marks along each section. Then using a ruler I can line up one of those marks with the mark on the opposite coupling, and then I can use that piece of paper and do the same thing on the other side. Now, before everyone starts asking, this is not from a specific Nightwing. It's a custom piece that was inspired by my custom armored Robin, and also some other fan art that I've seen floating around. Using a grinding wheel on my Dremel, I flatten little areas over those marks so that the glue has something to grab onto. And I'm just using a cheap hockey wrap to wrap the handle, and I'll be using a bit of electrical tape as well. I accidentally ended up using 2 different types of wrap. I did this because I was using the end of one wrap and the beginning of another, and I didn't realize they were different. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cover the entire thing in this electrical tape, and then they'll be even. Just the smallest bit of silver weathering can be done with this silver rub and buff. You only need a little tiny bit, and you just very lightly rub it on with a dry paper towel. Basically what I'm doing is I'm hitting all the high points or any areas that would take the most damage during a fight. So as you can see here, the top has a bit of that silver weathering and the bottom one doesn't. And to me, at least, the top one has a little more 3-dimension than the other one.
Thank you so much for watching and sticking around to the end of the video. If you enjoyed it, drop a like. If you have any comments, questions, concerns, put them down in the comment section and I'll try to get back to you guys. If you build one of these yourself, I'd love to see it. Send me a picture over to my Instagram at CWLbuilds, the same as my channel name. Thank you again for watching, and as always, I'll see you in the next video.